So this is the Bristol Town Council meeting of April 29th. Welcome all. I'm going to ask that you, in a moment, that you rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I am going to give you, hopefully, a flag to pledge. Can you see that flag out there?
We can. Looks good.
Excellent. I can even make it wave. Isn't that wonderful? So look at that. All right. So if you could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we'll do that too. Stop share. So if you look at our agenda, you're going to see that we have a COVID-19 special update. Before we start with that update, and I'm going to ask the administrator to assist us with that, and that update, of course, is to help share with all of us and, of course, the people of Bristol what's going on in the town, what we're doing to prepare to reopen. But before I do that, Councilman Perella had shared a video with me, which is only, and don't worry, we're not going to have a lot of videos, but which is about 3 minutes long, which I think you'll find is very appropriate for these times. And it's a great way to then talk about what we're doing with COVID-19. So I'm going to share that video. Bear with me right now. Isn't that great? Couple of minutes to say thank you to so many, as you can see on your screen, the workers, grocery workers, and nurses and healthcare. Mary, I would ask that if you could just unmute and just share with everybody where that came from and who did that, if you don't mind.
Sure, thank you. Well, I think many people probably saw it on Facebook yesterday and social media, but it's from the, I think, put together by the James D. Riley Foundation, which we all know that is sponsored by Michael Riley and our town crier and Santa Claus. And I believe the Leffingwells, mother and daughter, put it together with help of others who helped collect the pictures. So I just thought it was something that was timely and involved our community directly. And since we're going to be talking about COVID-19, I thought a good lead into that. So thank you for everyone who made sure we could get a copy of that, because the Facebook version wasn't being transmitted correctly. So
Thank you, Mary. So the next on our agenda is a special presentation of the COVID-19. And I'm going to ask the administrator to kind of give a rundown of what's happening right now, the steps that we're taking to be ready to reopen not only the town hall, but the town, and what is going on for our businesses and our residents, what's available out there. And Mr. Administrator, if you could take a moment and kind of give everyone an update.
Sure. Nice to see everyone. Steve Contenti here. First off, our COVID-19 response center, it's still getting calls. It's still manned during the day. After hours calls go to the police dispatcher. We're up between 85 to 100 meals per day out of recreation from the town of Bristol. We do provide meals for the weekend to those residents who need them. Some of the things that we're doing there are medications. When the pharmacies are behind on deliveries, we will deliver medication. Also, groceries have been delivered. We're now working with the Elks Club on another, in addition to the recommending the food pantry, we do have groceries coming in from the Elks Club for people who need them. So the response center is still active. Our departments are doing well. Our frontline responders are all healthy as of right now. There is enough stock of PPE for our first responders at this point in time. Town Hall, we're in process of making some changes to reopen on Monday the 11th. Monday the 11th of May. So we would have a reopening where all employees here at Town Hall would be back at the office from home. CDBG grant, small business grants. Chris Vitale had applied for a grant for our small businesses, $5,000 grants. We recommend that any small business goes on the town website to see if they're eligible for that grant. $5,000. It would help with rent, payroll, direct expenses relating to the downturn in the economy. As you probably all heard today, that the governor made a verbal announcement that there will be no gatherings over 50 people this summer, no concerts, no weddings, and no parade in Bristol. So with that, I will be working with my department heads the next day or two, and Friday I plan to deliver a recommendation to the council for some additional cuts that will likely not be needed this year, due to the fact that our activities here in town are starting to scale back. The other thing I would like to say it's unfortunately for us, although we know this will pass, those activities do spur other things, involvement with our departments. So we're looking at all our departments. Like there's very little traffic out there right now after 8 p.m. If you're out for some reason, you'll find that there's very little traffic out there, very little activity. So that in itself affects our public services. So the next, tomorrow's Thursday and Friday. I'm hoping by Friday afternoon, I'll send the town clerk some recommendations for some additional cuts to this coming budget. Other than that, any other questions, please feel free to ask. I know Chris Vitale's on. He's been working with Rhode Island Commerce with the small business loans and the payroll protection program. So I know for a fact that our businesses here in town have been taking advantage of those through their local lenders. But we are an advocate for our businesses. If we have to call and make some telephone calls with the state, we have done that thus far. But that's pretty much an update right now. We're looking forward to the town hall project. I think that all five of you will be pleased. It's going to be a quality project, and our employees here will be should be confident coming back to work that they'll be protected and there'll be a barrier during this this emergency. So that's what I have.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator, and thank you to all that are the steps that are being taken to make sure that our employees are safe, that our residents are safe, but they're also being proactive to be ready to open when we can. So, so a couple of things as we talk about with the Zoom meeting. It's a roll call vote to remind everybody. And of course, to those not familiar with that, means that each council person, I call their name and they will vote specifically. And the reason why we're doing things like this is that there are some call-ins and people that cannot see the screen. That's the other part, which is you need to announce yourself when you speak. It is not how we usually speak, but it's important that you're saying, hi, this is Nathan, and then make your points. If you're making the motion, then make sure that you're stating, and you've seen a few times, so certainly I will point it out if it doesn't get done in a kind way, of course. But Chris Vitale, if you could take just a moment and remind everyone if you've called in or are on the Zoom chat of how to do a couple of things, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes, so if you're using the Zoom app, you can look under the chat window. You have a link there that is for tonight's agenda. If you are calling in, you can mute and unmute yourself by pressing *6 on your phone. Or if you're using a smartphone, it does have that built-in mute feature as well. For this meeting, if we do use the raise your hand feature, you can do that by pressing *9. If you're using the Zoom app, the raise hand feature is under the participants tab.
That's perfect. Thank you, Chris. Any questions as we go through this, feel free to whether it's my colleagues or from the town or from the public, if there's something that you're not clear on. Obviously, we all kind of muddle through this together. Side note is that if you're using the Zoom app and you are part of the meeting, if you're a council person, holding down the space bar will unmute you while you're holding down the space bar. So it's a quick way to either make a comment or a motion. And then once you let go of the space bar, you are then muted again. So it's a quick way of going through that. So let's go back to our regular agenda, which I'm going to put it to you, Mr. Clerk. Just waiting for the technical.
Okay, took several tries, but I'm there.
There you are.
Okay, sorry about that. I did want to point out, Mr. Chairman, something that was a misfortunate error on the published agenda. The budget adoption meeting for Monday was incorrectly noted as May 6th. It's May 4th at 7 p.m. is the final budget adoption. There will be a separate agenda that will be published tomorrow that will have that agenda item. So I just wanted to make sure anybody looking at the paper or the published online agenda for this meeting has the wrong date for next week.
Thank you.
Okay. The first item on this evening's agenda is the consent agenda.
This is Tim. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Tony, second.
So Tim made the motion. Tony, second. Is there any discussion? I'm going to, instead of saying all in favor, I'm just going to ask each person for their vote, and we'll just make it quick there. Okay, so Tim?
Aye.
Aaron, just because it's the order that I'm in right now.
Aye.
Tony.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
I also vote aye.
The next item is a submission of minutes of previous meetings, items A1 and A2.
Motion
So
to
moved.
approve.
I heard a
Second.
motion. Oh, say I heard a motion from Tim and seconded by Tony. Tim,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
Tony,
Aye.
Mary.
Yeah, aye.
I also vote aye. Motion carries.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is item B1. This is a advertised public hearing to consider a zone map change. This was continued from March 11th, 2020, and there is correspondence from the solicitor requesting that the matter be continued again until May 20th.
Mr. Solicitor, is there anything to add on that, or just continuing it to the 20th?
Please continue it. We'll be ready to go forward on that date. Thank you.
Excellent.
This is Tim. Motion to continue to the next meeting.
Second.
So
This is Mary.
Tim made the motion.
Second.
Mary seconded it. Tim,
Aye.
I think I'll mix it up. Tony,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
I also vote aye. Motion carries.
The next item, also a matter continued from your April 1st meeting. This has to do with a request for a no parking space on Milford Street. This is ordinance 2019-20. It is the second reading of this ordinance. You have a recommendation provided by the town administrator and the chief of police, and also a request from the chief of police for authorization to prepare a process for similar future requests. And the council will recall that there was a similar request made by another resident, which is covered in item H2.
Mr. Chairman, it's Tim. Make a motion to combine H2 and C1.
Second.
So there's a motion and a second to combine H2 and C1. Is there any discussions? Tim,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Tony,
Aye.
Aaron. Was that an aye? I didn't hear you. Sorry. I can't hear, but that's okay. I can see you saying aye. So that, and I also vote aye. So that motion carries. So this item was, as the clerk pointed out, continued from our last meeting and the meeting before. Chief Lynch, I know you were on the call. I saw you. I don't see you in my list, but I know you're there. Could you speak a bit to what the proposal would be and how it kind of, and you can go very high level on it, and then how it pertains to this, and also the recommendation that we have, which is to deny these. And I know that, but I'd like you to speak to it if you would. You are muted right now, sir.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Seeing these requests as your new police chief come across the desk, I thought that I would add some tangibles. In essence, I would add, the basis to make a denial or an approval. So I was kind of wanted to see what was out there. I had heard that Newport had a similar process where they call them parking lot blocks. So we called the city of Providence and Central Falls, knowing that they somewhat have streets and roadways like Bristol, which are narrow, university, historical districts. So we were looking to see were we practicing or were we going to implement something that existed in another community. What we found was that the city of Newport does have a formal process, and they have a traffic person that reviews the request. I think that that person's decision can be appealed to the council. So what goes on is that the police respond over to the location where there's a request. In Bristol, we were using a full-scale Suburban, a larger vehicle to give the homeowner every advantage for the decision. And at that point, we have a police officer try to back out of the driveway. In essence, we're putting together an obstacle directly behind that driveway to see whether or not the homeowner can get out. And the prong is that if it takes more than 3 attempts, if you kind of can envision when you have to back out of a tight spot, you have to kind of go forward, back up, go forward, and kind of jockey the car around. So if it's any more than 3 attempts, that would garner a decision from my office to review. The officers go out to review the video. In both of these incidents, I've reviewed the video. And in both of these instances, the officers parked a full Suburban behind the driveway and were able to get out of the driveway with minimal obstruction. So based on that, those decisions and the criteria that we adopted from Newport, I made a recommendation to the town administrator that it did not find it a public safety hazard for those people to exit or enter their driveway. I did have a great opportunity to speak to the homeowner at Milford Street. I think I saw that he was on. A very courteous and polite gentleman. He had come back from Florida. I wanted to interview with him personally, but with social distancing, I could not. So Mr. Brando and I spoke on the telephone, and he is the most honest and forthcoming person that I've had a conversation with. And I think, as he might testify or speak on the issue, this was kind of an anomaly. There was an issue, kind of a neighborhood issue. And Mr. Brando, I asked him, how often is this occurring? And he could only detail one time, in the past year. So to create a situation that has this pot block for a one-time or anomaly or a one-off, based on the fact that we could get out of the driveway, that was the basis for my recommendation to deny it. But again, Mr. Brando was certainly full of candor, and I appreciated that, and a very nice gentleman.
Thank you, Chief. I'm going to take a moment because technology allows now. You sent that video. In fact, I'm playing it right now. I'm hoping all that you can see that. It might be a little stuttery, but we've never been able to do this before, and this is kind of speaking exactly to your point. And that's about it. So I'm going to just pause that and stop the screen share on that one. But we do have a couple more, and Chief, thank you for those. It certainly helped the council better understand, photos in the past are excellent, but this is just seeing it in being done. And as I said, there's a couple more with, I believe that's south facing, north facing, whatever. I forgot what they were, east or west. I apologize. But I thought that was quite good. And help us understand what was going on. I do see, as you mentioned, Chief, the applicants, plural, on the call. I'd like to give you an opportunity if you wanted to share anything before the council takes a vote. And if you would like to, you certainly don't have to if you don't want to. If you do, I can unmute you. You can raise your hand or give me a... We can't hear you right now because you're muted. So if you'd like to, I can unmute you. You are now unmuted. And please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, John Brando, 2 Milford Street in Bristol.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Town Council. A special thanks go out to our heroes, our first responders, our medical workers, and all our store workers, and keeping us safe with this COVID-19 we're dealing with. I would like, for one, by saying, at the November 20th, 2019 Town Council meeting, our petition for a no parking spot from across our driveway was finally approved. My wife and I left the town hall with such relief. After 35 years, our driveway being blocked, it's finally come to an end. Well, that all changed at the next Town Council meeting. Now we are back to the drawing board and back to ground zero, nothing like slamming the brakes on. The Bristol Police Department came out in order to do the investigation on Milford Street, in order to look into the situation. Upon the police department's investigation, and please, no disrespect to the police department, I would like to say that it's still very difficult, unsafe, and a challenge for us to back out of our driveway with a car parked across. I know I did tell the chief that it was only one incident this year, but it's been multiple other years, and this has been going on for 35 years. I feel that these two petitions here tonight for the no parking spots could be passed with the town council's approval. And if not, how do we move forward into getting the street widened? The street is only 17 feet wide. So in order to solve this problem by widening up the street does make sense. I spoke with a couple of residents and they agree that we should widen up the street, not only for first responder vehicles, but for the trash trucks and everybody else. And this will eliminate our parking issues. Mr. Chairman, this question is to you. How do we move forward in getting this street widened like they did on Lincoln Avenue? They did an excellent job on Lincoln Avenue by widening up the street and putting in all new curbing. It came out beautiful. How do we go forward on getting Milford Street widened to its normal width of 23 feet from 17?
I don't believe, and I will confirm with the administrator, but I don't believe Lincoln Ave was widened. It certainly was improved because it was in disrepair, but I don't believe it was widened. Mr. Administrator, can you confirm that? Can't hear you.
No,
There you are.
no, the sidewalks were, the curbing was replaced, but they're replaced in place. The curbing was raised, but it was not, the road was not widened.
Thank you. So, but the question about widening, I know that we have a multitude of streets that are, I believe the correct term is substandard, but we also, that your road and others are, we triage. And again, I will defer to the administrator in regards to our current plan for repaving X streets and also the DPW director. But it is not on the, I hate to say on the priority list, but I don't know how else to say it, is that to widen a road, particularly one that is in acceptable condition. I'm not saying it's pristine, please don't take it that way. But it would not be something on the budget that we would prioritize. We would certainly focus on roads that are in quite disrepair, as we certainly are right now. I hope that. But how do you do it? Is that it's got to be triage priorities. Go to the top of the list when it is in well, hopefully in dysfunctional condition, not deplorable. We don't wait that long. We try to prioritize the streets and the ones that are worst, and we do those first. We also prioritize by year on year. Sometimes streets are on 10th on the list or 20th, but a winter will eat up a road, and we'll have to do that one earlier than we wanted to. So, but doing that would be, it would have to rise to the list. That's really what it comes down to. So, and in regards to, I don't know if widening the road certainly would make it easier to get out, but I thought that the police department's explanation in regards to getting out was acceptable. But I please don't take it, and obviously my colleagues should weigh in on this, but I'm not suggesting that 2 or 3 turns to get out of your driveway is something that I'd want to do all the time. But it didn't sound like it was all the time, and we, the council, have been pretty consistent in not saying yes to no parking because there's so little parking, and we don't want to get rid of parking that we currently have. But certainly, I don't want to take all the space here. I'm looking for your response too.
Okay. Also, we need to keep in mind that we can't compare Milford Street with St. Elizabeth Street, Franklin Street, and Court Street. These streets have parking concerns because they're so narrow. While on Milford Street, there's no problem with parking. The problem is that driveways are being blocked. And if we eliminate 2 parking spots on Milford Street, just to satisfy the both of us here, really ain't going to cause a parking issue because there's only 5 houses on the street and only about 4 cars the most park on Milford Street. So by approving 2 parking spots for each of us shouldn't be a big deal. And keep in mind that in 2019, I demolished a house on Milford Street, number 4, and along that house had a driveway, And across the street from that driveway was also a no parking, which I gave back to the town. So I don't believe I'm asking for too much here. You know, I believe that what I gave back to the town, that I should try to get back, because it'll make it easier for my wife and I to back out. Her alert system on reverse goes nuts when there's a car parked there all the time. You know, it's not fair that, you know, we can't get out of our driveway with ease. You know, that's why I feel that, to close the statement, I feel that both of these petitions were approved tonight for Milford Street, that both of our issues could be resolved with the council's approval, and we could have some peace and harmony again on Milford Street. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to echo what the chief had said. I certainly have had interactions with both of you, and you've always been, amenable to speak with. And I still think you were being that way, and I appreciate that. I know my colleagues do too. But I would say that the rationale that you gave is kind of, it also works in the opposite direction, which is there's only a few people on the street. There's really no need for neighbors to park in front of other neighbors' driveways. And unfortunately, this seems to be a dispute between neighbors and not a need for clear access to get out of your driveway. As you said, there's only a few people that live on the road, and there's really no need for anybody to park in front of somebody else's driveway, or at least maybe if it's somebody visiting, that'll happen. But I don't personally see the need, and I think the police department reiterated that quite well. But I asked my colleagues your thoughts and also what you'd like to do as the next step.
And Mr. Chairman, this is Aaron Lay. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
I just want to first off thank the chief of police for putting together the process that he put together and examining what some of the other towns were doing with respect to this. There's usually nothing better that we can do but to see what other people have been doing to address these same situations, because if we can rely upon best practices or what works elsewhere, usually that's something that can help us put together a rational plan for dealing with these types of issues rather than dealing with them on a case-by-case basis. So with that being said, I did notice that there was a recommendation for both of these spots after this comprehensive analysis has been done to deny the petitions. And based upon those recommendations, I would be willing to support the position of the police department and the careful research that they did on this and move forward with their recommendation. So
is that a motion to deny on both?
I don't know if any of my other colleagues want to say it, but yes, that I will make a motion to.
Are you raising your hand? Excuse me, I have my hand raised.
Yeah, you do. I see it, but I'll recognize you in a moment. So Aaron Lay, I heard a motion to deny both applications. Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, so we have a second for discussion, and I'm going to call on you. Thank you, Tim. Thank you for pointing that out too. I'm going to lower your hand and unmute you. Please state your name and address for the record, please. Did I unmute you? You are still muted. It looks that way. You are muted. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes.
There you go.
Good evening, everyone. John Kosho, 5 Milford Street.
Welcome.
Good evening. A couple of things. First off, what I noticed in that video was that they had the Suburban parked on the street and they backed the Taurus out. I was wondering, Chief, if you tried to back the Suburban out of the driveway with the Taurus parked on the street.
No, there are several videos. We did it both ways. So whichever way that you pulled out of the driveway. But the scenario that we utilized was the larger vehicle obstructing the roadway with the car. So it was all done with the car and the SUV in the roadway.
Second question. If that Suburban were parked across from, in a parking spot not across from a driveway, and a second car were parked across from the Suburban would a third car be able to pass in between the two vehicles?
I'm a little confused about the scenario that you created.
Well, if you look in the video, my son's truck is parked in front of my house, and it is purposely parked about 4 feet on my grass. If that truck were parked at the curb line, or actually it's a berm, it's not a curb, and a vehicle were parked directly across the street at the curb line, would a car be able to pass in between them, even though there's parking on both sides of the road at that point?
You know, we would have to recreate that particular scenario, but we'd probably be speaking about 90% of the roads in the town of Bristol.
I would say no, because the road at that point is...
John, I'm going to ask you to stop, and all conversation needs to go through the chair.
Sure.
So I want the chief you asked the chief to respond to your question, and
okay,
I'd like him to respond completely thank you.
Sure.
Chief?
We would have to recreate the scenario, put it under video, and take it under advisement. It's difficult to answer a what if. That's why we put the cars out there. We take a video, and I make an independent analysis after the officers go out into the field. But like I said, the reason why we reached out to Central Falls, Providence, if you go by Superior Court, Benefit Street, up by Brown University, all of the streets are very narrow, and that is pretty much the norm in the town of Bristol. So if we were to create two large vehicles side by each side of the roadway, I'm sure there would be some obstructions.
And that leads to my third question. Those roads, like Benefit Street, for example, are they the width, the narrow streets in Providence, Newport, Central Falls, are they the width that they were designed to be? If the road is 15 feet wide, was that what it says in their records? Did they say that they are actually that narrow? Because our town records actually show that Milford Street is 25 feet wide, and across from my house, it's only about 17.5 feet wide.
Unfortunately, I don't have the engineering for the roadways. When we go out and we do our analysis, we do measure the width of the roadway, and you and Mr. Brando are correct, in that 17-foot range for Milford Street. So I certainly don't have the traffic engineering on other streets.
So, John, I was unclear. Was it seemed like you were trying to kind of go down or call it a road? I'm sorry.
No, pun intended.
Was the point to say, are you in support of the no parking or not support? I'm sorry, I wasn't following that part. Because the agenda item specifically has to do with no parking, so we can't go too far down a road. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make jokes.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
I think that if you offered even the no parking as a temporary solution, or it would be more of treating the symptom of the problem until you could resolve the problem itself of widening the road. But my point would be that in the research that the good chief has done, it's quite possible that what Newport and Providence and Central Falls have done was institute policies based on narrow roads that have been narrow for 300 years. Whereas this road was built as a 25-foot dirt road probably over 100 years ago, and the property lines have just encroached on the road to the point where the road is 17 feet wide. And with a car being 5.5 feet wide, parked 6 inches from the curb line, that leaves you with 5 feet in between cars, and no vehicle, not a Yugo, let alone a rescue vehicle or a fire apparatus, would get past 2 vehicles park directly side by side one another on that street. And in fact, we did have a fire alarm at John's son's house at 2 o'clock in the morning a couple of weeks ago, and the duty chief, out of an abundance of caution, decided to keep the fire apparatus on Mount Hope Avenue because of that reason.
Thank you.
So I would strongly suggest we look into widening that, surveying the road and widening it to 25 feet. But in the meantime, give them the spots.
Thank you. Mary, you had your hand raised.
I had a couple of thoughts about this whole thing. First, I just wanted to comment. I actually like, notwithstanding this particular issue, but I like the process the chief put in place, because as he said when this first came up, he was only on the job for a few months or maybe a month or so, that this is a big issue that we have all the time. This is something that is on almost all of our council agendas about, driveways and parking on many streets in Bristol, some narrower than others. And I would also imagine that the streets that you mentioned, like some of the streets in Newport or in Providence, what they've done, like Benefit Street happened to come up. I mean, in parts on that street, they have just only allowed parking on one side. So that helps with the passing of other vehicles. I do think, one thing I was thinking of before you made your comments, that we should, regardless of how the vote goes with this particular issue, that we should ask the administrator and DPW director to look at this issue and any other substandard roads that are that narrow, to make sure that they are safe, even if there's only a few houses on there, and to put together a plan just to see when and if, when that we can start to work on that, because it is more than just a repaving project. But now I'm even more curious about the comments that you just made, and that was that in years past it was 25 feet and people have just encroached upon the road. I think that is something that we really should look into. And I would ask the administrator and DPW director to look into that issue. And are there other roads like that happened? Like, I'm not sure how that happened over the years. Did people just start planting grass and assume that was there weeds growing there and they took care of the property, so they decided that belongs to them? I mean, how does that happen?
I can answer part of that. This is Nathan. That the survey is probably correct that it's supposed to be 25 feet. It may just be the overlay and not reality, meaning it's town property. It's a road that goes 25 feet wide, but the pavement actually doesn't go that far. Most of our roads have overlay that go, for example, on my road, I believe it comes 7 feet into my property. What I would call my property. It's actually not mine. It belongs to the town. So I think that's probably what's going on here. But I don't think it's inappropriate to take a look at substandard roads. I would say this: it's that and it's certainly not a bad thing to have the knowledge base on this, but obviously we don't have the dollars. That if we do find out, then we would have to triage and prioritize, because there's only so much money there. So
can I just say one thing though about that? I mean, it's interesting the way you explained it. I think it's very helpful and it's interesting. But if people are thinking that they're parking on public property, they're actually maybe parking on their own property. So if you pushed over on the grass, I mean, if you say like you have 7 feet of property in front of your house that belongs to the town, then people should be sort of parking on their lawn to get off the street, and that wouldn't be as much of an issue, no matter where it is, no matter what street it's on. I mean, if you come in downtown where I live, you've got the sidewalk, then you have grass that the homeowner has to maintain, but it's obviously the town's property, and then you have the curb. In some of these areas, you don't have that. So, I mean, I think it's interesting because people are saying they're blocking this, but I mean, like when you said I think John said that he was parking somebody said, maybe it was the other John, 4 feet on his lawn to make sure there's enough room on the road. Well, technically, if that's the case, then you're really parking on the road, not on your lawn. And I think we really need to two things. I think it's important to look at this issue so that we know and we make sure we have safe public access for emergency vehicles and so forth, but also so that the homeowners understand too, or are reminded anyway, that this is not the town's, that is the town's property, even though they take care of it and think of it as their front lawn.
Mary, if I may, my father's 81 years old, and he has lived on that street his entire life. He says originally that road was dirt, 25 feet wide, and when his father built the garage that he has, they used to have to drive up and into the garage. Now he drives down and into the garage, and water actually runs into the garage. So, and me growing up there, really the only house on the road 50 years ago was John's father's house, the one he tore down. Everything else was fields. So I imagine that it's less that people planted grass and that the fields encroached on the dirt road, and then it was just paved, maybe 18 feet wide. And I believe in 1982, they laid a tar berm on the west side of the road. And I was parking over the berm onto the grass, and my neighbor was complaining, and I actually got a ticket for parking over the curb. And when we had spoken to, I think it was the town planner, he actually said that's not a curb, it's just a berm. So,
John and Mary, I know this feels a bit innocuous that we're not, but we are way off topic on this. And when again, it feels like it's appropriate conversation, but we've gone way past the what's on the agenda and advertised for the agenda was 2 no parking spaces. And although, again, this feels appropriate, I think we've gone way off top. In fact, I know we have. And Mr. Solicitor, you don't have to say anything. You can nod your head in agreement. Okay, you do. Okay. So we need to get back on point. Again, I think these are good points, but as this agenda item, as it pertains to this agenda item, we have a motion and a second to deny based off the reasons that Councilman Lay has already expressed and others. I would say that, and I'll leave it, my own 2 cents on this, is that it sounds again like a disagreement with neighbors, but I'm listening to neighbors talk about the living on the road, and you sound amenable, you sound reasonable, and it sounds like if you park your cars in a way that is, you're aware of the trash trucks, you're aware of rescue coming by. Look, you all have driveways, or most have driveways, we'll say it that way. There doesn't seem like there's any reason to block the road. There doesn't seem like there's any reason that there need to be 2 cars parked close together, because it's a small road. And again, and I'll go back to it, is that you seem all very reasonable. So it doesn't seem any reason at all that this can't be fixed by you, the reasonable people, and it doesn't need no parking. I personally don't think that 2 no parking spaces on that road are going to change that. I think it's about a neighbor disagreement, I'll put it that way. But if there's any other dialogue from the council, I'm asking for now. If not, I'm going to call for a vote.
Wait a second.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion and a second to deny both petitions because we combined H2 and C1. That motion was made by Aaron and seconded by Tim. Tim?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Mary?
I'm going to vote aye, but I do want to go back to my request. So should that be another motion?
I would say that Mr. Clerk, actually, I'll lean on you. Can we make that part of this, or does that need to be a separate motion, or is that more of a? Actually, we could do it in prerogative section at the end, Mary.
All right. I'll add it to my list.
And I've got agreement from Mike on that. So. All right, and I also vote aye. And again, I know this is not what you were looking for, but we all appreciate your reasonableness here and sharing the information. Thank you. Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, before you move on,
Yes, sir.
you will recall that there was an ordinance that was prepared, so you also have to have vote on the ordinance, and I believe under the circumstances, the proper motion would be to reject the ordinance.
Counsel?
This is Tim. Motion to reject the ordinance.
Second. Tony, second.
So motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony. Is there any discussion? Tim?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Thank you.
Chief,
Thank
thank you. Mr. Chairman, just wanted to say, Chief, I think this is a great new process you're putting in. Seeing is believing, and the video was very compelling. Thank you.
So a note on that, Tim, and to all, is that this would be something that the council would take the next step on. We would need to adopt what is being proposed on here. So this would require our step, and we can certainly do that. And it sounds like there was agreement there. We can talk about this, and we can get it on a upcoming agenda to have more dialogue about it. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is item E1, and this is the dog kennel license renewals for 2021.
This is Tim. Based on the positive recommendations, I make a motion to approve the dog kennel license renewals for 2020 to 2021.
Second.
Tim made the motion to approve. Mary seconded. Is there any discussion? Tim?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is item F1, and this is the second reading for adoption of a request for an accessible parking space located on St. Elizabeth Street. You have a recommendation from the Public Works Director and one from the Chief of Police.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Tim, please.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, this is Tim. Based on the police department's recommendation, I'm making a motion to reject the second reading for adoption.
Tony? Aye.
Tony, I'm going to take that as a second.
Yes, second. I'm sorry.
Not at all. So Tim made the motion. Tony seconded to reject. Is there any discussion? Tim?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is item F2, and this is the petition of Edward Coria on behalf of the 4th of July Committee requesting new dates for the annual carnival. You do have late item recommendations provided by the fire department and town administrator. I'm not sure how any of this factors into some of the earlier news that we learned from the administrator, but it may be wise at this point to at least give some latitude to this, depending upon what the current circumstances will be at the time that this is going to go forward.
Maybe we can make a motion to approve contingent upon state requirements or governor executive orders or whatever is appropriate as it pertains to COVID-19.
Exactly.
I think so. I second. Okay. I'll make that motion.
Second.
So Mary made the motion and Tony seconded to approve contingent upon the state allowing it to go forward. How's that? Is there any discussion? Tim?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Motion carries.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is your appointment section, beginning with the Planning Board. And this is 2 positions, both with terms to expire in April of 2023. You have seeking reappointment Charles E. Millard Jr. of 620 Hope Street and also Jerome A. Squartrito of 56 Wally Street, both currently serving.
I make a motion that we reappoint both Charles Millard and Jerome Squartrito.
I second that. Tony?
So Mary made the motion to reappoint both. Tony seconded. Is there any discussion? Tim?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Motion carries.
Next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, this is the Police Pension Fund Board of Trustees, one position with term to expire in April of 2023. You have a single applicant, Jeffrey Hirsch, 43 Baggy Wrinkle Cove in Warren, who currently serves, who has interest in being reappointed. Just in case there's any question, there is no residency requirement to this board.
This is Mary. I vote to reappoint Jeff Hirsch.
Second. Tony?
Mary made the motion to reappoint. Tony seconded. Is there any discussion? Tim?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Motion carries.
The next item is the Board of Canvassers. This is one unexpired term ending in March of 2022. The current person serving in this term is Charles Alexander, who has submitted his resignation. Regretfully, Mr. Alexander has served very, very well, both on this board and previously on other boards, especially noted for his service on the Zoning Board of Review, which he did for a very long time. But he has decided not to stay on any longer. So you have two nominations for replacement. These, as you will recall, must come from the established political parties. And because there is currently one serving Democrat and one serving Republican, in addition to Mr. Alexander, both parties can nominate. And you have the nomination of Peter Hewitt by the Republican chairman and Denise Ashola by the Democrat chairperson. And they are both serving as alternate members to the Board of Canvassers.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept Charlie Alexander's with regret and a letter of thank you for his service. And also, and I motion to move Denise Asciola to an active member and appoint to the alternate Michelle LaGuardia.
Second.
So there's a motion by Tony.
Sorry, that was Aaron.
It was Tony made the motion. Thank you, Aaron. Tony made the motion to letter of thanks to Charlie Alexander to appoint Denise Ashola. And then, I'm sorry, Tony, your last part of it cut off. I want to make sure I got it color.
That's okay. And appoint alternate Michelle LaGuardia.
Thank you. And then Aaron seconded that. Is there any discussion?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I totally jumped the gun on that second. So
No worries. So we had a motion and a second, as we've said. Is there any other discussion? Tim?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Aaron?
aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. I just like to mix it up to keep everybody guessing there. So motion carries. Thank you. Before we move forward, I'm going to say what I always say for all of us. Thank you. Thank you to all the boards and commissions. The clerk pointed out rightly, Charlie Alexander was zoning board and also on the Board of Canvassers, particularly in the zoning board, for quite a long time. But it's also important to point out that I think everyone that was reappointed, for example, Charles Millard has been there quite a while. Jerome Squartrito has been there years upon years. So to all, and I'm only pointing out a few, but to all, thank you. This town and this council appreciates what you do. Mr. Clerk.
The next item, Mr. Chairman, was continued from your March 11th meeting. This is a request from Gooding Realty for a curb cut on Naomi Street. We received a late item today from the attorney for the Gooding Realty requesting that the council allow the petition to be withdrawn without prejudice.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve withdrawal without prejudice.
Second.
So there's a motion by Tim, seconded by Mary, to withdraw without prejudice. Just for clarity for the public, that means that they can repetition the council at a future date with no negative ramifications to it. But this request is now taken off the table, if you will. So we had a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Tim?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is item H3, and this is the petition of Kathy Nunes from 30 Leahy Drive, requesting a no parking space on Leahy Drive nearby her property. And you also, this was continued from April 1, and you also have a late item concerns raised by neighbors Jim and Paula Mello, and also a late item recommendation provided by the police chief's office.
So this is another one that the police department was kind enough to share a video with us. This one is not as large as the other one, so I can't do a full screen on it. So I'm going to share my desktop really quick because it's so much clearer when we can see these. And you can probably see that. And that was the officer stating which way the car was pulling out. So it's a similar situation. There were two videos here. I'm just going to show this one for clarity's sake. It's almost done. Thank you. Chief, can you, I don't know if you needed to speak on this. It looked pretty self-explanatory.
Yes, sir. Again, officers went out applying the new standard of videoing it. As you could see, with that particular exit of the driveway, officers were able to do it in a single passing. So that was the basis. And I do believe I did see Mr. Mello on earlier, Mr. Chair, that there was also concerns from the neighbors that a park block was not needed on that street.
Okay. If normally what I'm looking at is to see if there was any hand raised. I don't know if the petitioner is on the call or on Zoom, which was Kathy Nunes. I'm just going to give it an extra second here for a hand raise. Chris Vitale, could you please, it's star, I forgot, I'm sorry, is it star 6 or star 9 to raise your hand?
Star 9 if you're calling in.
Okay, so if you are calling in and you're not using the Zoom application, you can't see video, if you will. Star 9 is how you raise your hand. So I'm going to give it just a second, just in case somebody wanted to, if the petitioner was on. And I don't see anything. So what's this? What's the next step for the council? What's the council's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, this is Tim. Based on the new police evidence of the video, it was clear to me that I would make a motion to deny the request for no parking.
Second.
Tony?
I am here.
You are here, and I did not see.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was having a hard time getting it to work.
And honestly, that's why I was giving an extra second, because I know this is not the easiest thing. So if you could please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Kathy Nunes, and my address is 30 Leahy Drive.
Did you? I wanted to give you a moment if you wanted to share anything on this before we take the next step.
I just was looking for the no parking because there are times where there is a car parked directly behind my driveway, and being a blind corner, a lot of times there's cars and trucks, and unfortunately there is a three-way stop, but it's not clearly observed. There are many people in the neighborhood that they slow, but they never stop coming around that corner. And sometimes if there's someone parked behind me, it does take me a moment or two to inch my way out, where if there wasn't a car parked there, I would feel easier at moving at a normal pace. Also, if there's a big truck trying to come by, it's very difficult if there's somebody there to pass. You have to back up down the road. And when I say back up, the Leahy runs east-west, and there's very much difficulty trying two cars making that corner. You cannot pass side by side. Somebody has to move. Someone has to back up or go forward to get around that corner if there is somebody parked there. The neighbor across the street is parked there for reasons unknown, and I do have photos about 6 to 8 times in the past 6 to 8 weeks. Maybe they could reconsider not parking there. Also, I didn't know, and this would be for the police chief, is there a no parking on a corner, and what it is, because there's a stop sign and that's a corner. So is there a distance in the ordinance that you
Yes.
can't park?
Yes, there is, but the chief certainly is the professional.
I will defer, to the town clerk for specifics for the town of Bristol, or the solicitor for intersecting streets, with the stop sign. But yes, they generally is for those particular areas. In addition, to the request, officers did attempt to go out and meet with Mrs. Newlands. They were not able to meet with the petitioner. They did go. They attempted to meet with her 3 separate times.
I was there, and I did speak with them.
Okay. And maybe after 4/8, when they signed their response, it could have been a secondary time. But they went out several times to check the area and were unable to find any times where the back of the driveway was blocked in. So that was the basis also for the denial.
I have several dates and photos when there was a car parked there that I can provide.
It would seem that, I know we have a motion and a second, but it would also seem that that request about how far away that you can park from a corner. I know that we've had other dialogue, and I think the number was in and around the 15-foot range. And I said in and around because I want to stay very vague. We should find out exactly what it is. That may...
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I can put a little of clarity on that one. Just tell you from my experience that the parking ticket that the police department does issue, it would be a violation to park within 15 feet of a corner.
Okay. So maybe that may be the solution. An ordinance already exists like that could, the prior chief had a great line, and I'm going to use it right now. First we educate, then we enforce. Maybe an education, a reminder of not parking that close may be in order, and certainly I defer to the chief again on this. Maybe we can remind if the opportunity, when the opportunity presents itself again. So,
Nathan, I'm
yes.
sorry, Mr. Chairman. Could we also...
This is Mary.
Yeah, this is Mary Perella. If they could also go down and maybe station some patrol cars here and there at different times of the day to make sure people are stopping at those stop signs. I mean, if there's a 3-way stop and everybody rolls through, I think they need a reminder that that's a stop sign there. There are 3 stop signs there.
And you can pick either one or all 3, but we need you to stop, right? So
You can stop at the one the direction you're going, but...
Okay. All right. So it sounds like there may be resolution through our current ordinances for all the things that have already been stated. I think that's an opportunity. And Chief, maybe if you could come back to the council, if necessary, if there's action necessary on our behalf, that if the current ordinances for example, parking too close to the stop sign or the corner does not suffice here, we would be happy to hear that back from you if there's additional steps that the council needs to take.
Absolutely. Knowing that these are personal issues that, impact the residents, and, I do value them, and I like to go out personally and evaluate them. So tomorrow, when I go out onto the road, as I do every day, I'll personally go by that address and see if the driveway is within that 15-foot range. So when I send out a bulletin to the officers to look for traffic enforcement issues, I'll also include that in the bulletin that I give the officers that are assigned to that particular beat. So I can assure the homeowner that we will address the stop sign situation, and I will personally look into the 15-foot range for parking to an intersection. But we're always here for anybody that has a parking concern. Some of them are neighborhood or neighbor related. And we will professionally address them and try to mitigate, and try to show each other that everybody that they need to have mutual respect for each other. It is the home, and everybody likes to make that their sanctuary. And, we do have a good way of communicating a lot of times with homeowners and residents in trying to mitigate, some of those concerns.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much. I very much appreciate all your time and the efforts put into this, and a peaceful solution is always greatly appreciated, and I really see it can be reached. They have at least 100-foot frontage in which they could park their car easily, and it's the same situation where their front yard is probably into the road much more, because that road there is 16 feet and the frontage from my yard to the street is 5 to 6 feet, and extra frontage to the yard it was taken from that 25 feet of road. I just had my son measure it. It's 16 feet. So they really have more than enough to park on their own front yard versus directly behind my driveway. And any I can't think of the word, but I will.
Positive resolution, right?
Yes, sir. Positive resolution be so greatly appreciated.
Excellent. So thank you. So I know that Tim made the motion, but I don't believe it was seconded.
Well, I'll second it, and I think it's important that we resolve these issues. And it brings me back to a long time ago when we tried to do peer mediation with the neighbors. I mean, these are the kind of issues that cry out for that kind of thing. I do think in order to be just, fair and equitable to our prior discussion, if we're going to adopt this procedure of looking to see how doable it is by the police department, then we, really have to resolve this in another way rather than putting a box over there.
Agreed. All right. Is there any other discussion? Okay, so I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Chief and Kathy, for working together on this to resolve it. And, we're always open to looking at these situations again. So
Tim, stay unmuted. So hearing no other discussion, Tim, your vote?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Thank you. Thank you.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is item I1, and this is a request from Michael T. Burns on behalf of Explore Bristol regarding the British motor cars in Bristol, with a request for new dates of September 25th and 26th. You have the recommendation provided by the Economic Development Coordinator, and this may be another one that has to be made with a contingency requirement.
Mr. Chairman, Tony, based on that statement, I agreed. So I move that we approve it.
Second. This is Mary. Second.
So Tony made the motion. Mary seconded to approve the new dates for the Bristol British motor cars in Bristol on September 25th and 26th, contingent upon the state allowing this to actually move forward. And I know that we'll get to our prerogative section in the end. My 2 cents is we better be able to do this in September. So, because we're all going to go boom if we don't. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Tim?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Thank you.
The next item is from the Director of Community Development regarding a nomination of Route 114 and High Street in Bristol as all-American roadways.
So I see Diane there. Hello, Diane.
Hello.
I'm going to ask that first you need to state your name, but if you could share, I know you gave us a supporting documentation, but I'm hoping that you could share it with the public on what you're requesting.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So my name is Diane Williamson. I'm the Director of Community Development. And tonight I am asking the council for support and endorsement of a nomination for Route 114, all of Route 114, Hope Street and Ferry Road through Bristol and High Street as national scenic byways, specifically all American roadways. Those streets, Route 114 through Bristol and High Street, are Rhode Island scenic roadways. They were designated in 2000, and they have a state-approved corridor management plan, which makes them eligible for a recent nomination period opened up by Federal Highway Administration, where they're accepting nominations from states for local roadways and state roadways to be considered federally recognized scenic roadways. And we are applying, or with your support, we'd like to apply for a all-American roadway, which means it has one or more intrinsic values, which in our case we're saying are historic and cultural values. The Rhode Island State Scenic Roadways Board actually reached out to me to partner with them and the state to make this nomination. They are very excited about it because if we are selected, we would be part of the federal promotion and marketing for the National Scenic Byways program. They have a program through the federal agency, and also they have an association, and they do a lot of marketing of these roadways. We don't have one in Rhode Island. We would be the first in Rhode Island. We think it would benefit, as I said, economic development for regional tourism and promotion, and I think it would also help the town's, civic and community pride as well if we're picked. Something similar to the distinctive destination designation that we had a few years ago. There's a hope too that in the future this will open up grant opportunities. There's currently no funding for it, but they're hoping that may happen. There's no additional permitting or regulatory requirements for the properties as a result of the designation. And the state was suggesting that we call it the Revolutionary Heritage Byway, which I think is a good name for the branding and the marketing. And we're going to also obviously play up the 4th of July celebration and the history and the culture of the town, as well as that event. I'm optimistic if we get selected. They're making the decision by the end of this year. The nomination is due May 15th. And I really think it would maybe help buoy us for next year's celebration if we could add this to the list of designations. So I've reached out to our local tourism partnership. Discover Newport is thrilled to be supporting this. I've reached out to a few of the organizations along the byway, Blythewald. I reached out to Jeff Hirsch from Explore Bristol. They were supportive. Mount Hope Farm is supportive. I'm forgetting, a couple of our partners at the state, Commerce Rhode Island and GoProv, which is our partner in the Providence Convention and Visitors Bureau. They're supportive as well. So with that, I don't know if anybody has any questions.
I do. You mentioned that it does not put any additional requirements on the residents who live on these roadways. Does it put any additional requirements on the town?
No. What it does is the town we would want to continue to preserve and protect the historic resources along this road that we do now through the Historic District, the Planning Board, and the State Scenic Roadway Board also reviews applications for projects that require state DOT approval on High Street. So really, they want us to be supportive of managing the corridor in the way that we have been.
Okay.
And supporting the values that qualify us to be designated if we are designated. there's no other permitting or any other things like that.
Well, for myself, I don't know how you can go wrong with All American Roadway. How do you not support All American Roadway? So sign me up.
I would make a motion that we, what do you need, Diane? Approval that we move forward with this, or?
Yes. So I would need support for the nomination, and then specifically because you are the road management agency for High Street, which is the local road, I would need your support as the road management agency for High Street.
Yeah, so that's my motion to include both of those. And I guess hopefully, it's hopeful that Tim and I will be living on the Revolutionary Heritage Byway.
Right. This time next year, maybe we'll all be driving on that.
Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second, as a revolutionary.
I heard Mary as the motion and Tony as the second. Is there any other discussion? Tim?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Motion carries. Good luck, Diane.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And if you could tell us what we end up with a name there, that would be wonderful too.
Okay. I'll keep you posted. Thank you.
Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Diane.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is from the Town Administrator regarding a proposed lease with the town and the Bristol State House Foundation.
So the administrator and I spoke.
And support. Revolutionary.
Diane doesn't know that she's not muted right now. I'm going to take a moment and mute her. Oh, no, she just muted herself. Okay. See, you got to be careful. She didn't say anything bad. So the administrator and I spoke today in regards to this, just to refresh everyone's memory. We had a previous lease for the State House and through the State House Foundation, one, of course, on the Common. And the original recommendation from the administrator was a 1-year extension. Part of the request was also for the council to pay the insurance, the property insurance, which was an additional approximately $3,000. I'd like us to, if we're amenable to it, continue this to our next meeting. The administrator and I are going to reach out and through the with the solicitor, maybe have a conversation with the State House Foundation along with an interested party and find out if there's another opportunity there that would be beneficial to all. Obviously, everybody's got to win on it. So I'm hoping we could just continue this to the next meeting and maybe we can give you an update.
So, Tony, so moved, Chief.
Okay, so Tony made the motion, Tim made the second. Is there any other discussion? Tim?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, the next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is correspondence from the State Traffic Commission. The council will recall that we did receive an inquiry from the residents of 221 Hope Street regarding their request for certain no parking areas in the vicinity of their driveway. The State Traffic Commission responds saying that essentially that it would be allowable to have a certain amount of the street striped to allow for ingress and egress of the driveway to enter into that complex.
I'm quiet, Mr. Clerk. I apologize. I read that a little bit differently. Because there was more there. Is that what I saw, and I'm going to read it verbatim. The State Traffic Commission did not approve the above request, but to your point, it does recommend the use of parking boxes in order to better define parking areas and provide buffer. I understand. So they're saying no to no parking, but better striping. Is that the way we should read that?
That was how I read it, Mr. Chairman.
So, Mr. Chairman, would the motion be based on the state traffic decision? a motion would be to receive and file because it's a state road, correct? So we
I
would
believe the motion.
wouldn't really be denying it, would we?
We're not.
No, I don't think there's not necessary to deny. My recommendation would be to refer it to the administration, and then they may be able to come up with a suitable way to provide a certain amount of striping near that driveway.
It does say in the letter that the striping changes would be completed through the RIDOT Maintenance Division when work is scheduled in the area. So there's no action on the council and on the town.
That's what I think.
Yes.
Okay.
So I agree. I think it's actually, but I think we can take the suggestion of the clerk and we can refer it to the administrator, if nothing else, as a reference. So
This is Tim. Make a motion to refer to the town administrator.
Second. Tony, second.
So Tim made the motion. Tony made the second. Is there any discussion? Tim?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Motion carries.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I think we're going to have an issue with actually doing this from home because I don't seem to have the tabulation sheet from J1. I believe I sent it to all of you today. Hopefully you have that and perhaps someone besides me can read the results of that particular bid.
Lou, can I just ask, the one I saw, and I didn't print it out, but it didn't have any prices on it. It was blank on that side.
Right. Well, that's J2, and I'll explain
Okay.
that one. This
All
would
right.
be J1. Do you have J1?
I hear you, Mr. Clerk. I'm looking at your late items that were sent over. Included in there is recommendations from the police department, the fire department, and then, as Mary said, J2, the supporting document. There's no numbers on it, but that was it. There's no J1 in this in the email from earlier.
Okay. There's.
Could we take
It
it up
may be
on Monday? Could we take that up on Monday, since we have to meet on the budget?
It's a great.
Perhaps that's what we should do. I can tell you just from memory, this was the council will recall during our discussions on capital budget, et cetera. There is a bid for the RBC replacement and other. That's the rotating biological chamber at the wastewater treatment facility, and we did have 3 bids that were open today. It would be okay to continue the matter until Monday. I can add it to that agenda for the budget adoption meeting.
I think it's an outstanding suggestion. Mary, I'll take that as a motion. Is there a second?
Tim, I'll second the motion.
All right. So Mary made the motion. Tim seconded to continue this to our Monday, May 4th meeting. So those could be read aloud and take our next steps as normal. Is there any other discussion? Tim?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, the other one is J2, and this was a request for qualifications. So in this case, there were no financials submitted. And what we've done in the past when we have had a request for qualifications is that we essentially read into the record all of the firms that have made proposals to us. They have shown us how they would be the suitable candidate to become involved in the design of this extension of the bicycle path that would go from Independence Park to Roger Williams University. There were 7 proposals submitted, again, providing just qualification information. The first was from Dupree Engineering of Cranston, the second from Geiser Engineering of Riverside, the third from McMahon Transportation Engineers and Planners of Taunton, Massachusetts, the fourth from Fuss and O'Neill of Springfield, Massachusetts, The 5th from Commonwealth Engineers and Consultants of Providence. The 6th is Beta Group of Lincoln, and the 7th is PAR Corporation, also of Lincoln.
So the correct motion, and Mr. Clerk, correct me if I'm wrong here, would be to refer to the administrator and I suppose community development director to act in best interest of the town.
That would be correct.
This is Tim. I move movement.
Is there a second?
Tony, second.
Tim made the motion. Tony seconded to refer to the administrator and community development. Is there any other discussion? Tim.
Aye.
Tony.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
Aaron.
Aye.
I also vote aye. Motion carries.
And item K1 is the periodic report on the Bristol County Water Authority provided by the Chairman, Alan Klepper.
This is Tim. Make a motion to receive and file.
Second. This is Mary.
Tim made the motion. Mary seconded it to receive and file. Is there any discussion? Tim.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
Aaron.
Aye.
Tony.
Aye.
I also vote aye. Motion carries.
And now we have the individual council member agenda items, beginning with the chairman.
So just a review on a couple of things. First, as the clerk pointed out right at the beginning of the meeting, our next meeting is May 4th. So Monday, May 4th at 7 o'clock. And that is our adoption of the budget, which is kind of where we're going now. I wrote down a couple of notes for myself. The administrator made some great points at the beginning, and I think we were all in the same place, not only from just kind of the time that has passed, but then the governor's announcement of kind of, of doing away with the 4th of July parade and all the other phenomenal events, it's frustrating. But we're going in a positive direction here, that things are going to start to open up a little bit, and we're going to be able to not stay at home anymore. And I want to talk about the budget, and I'm going to be very quick here and say that we do need to look at the budget again. I think I'm going to say this one more time, is that we got a great budget that was brought to us. There was a lot of hard work by the administrator, the treasurer, and department heads. And it was a lean budget, and it was an excellent budget. This council and administrator wanted to, and did, fully fund the school this year. That is, obviously the money's got to come from someplace. It was the right decision to do that, but we're in a very difficult place right now. There are so many people without the job, without the possibility of having a job when things get better, or people that have a job right now and don't know if they're going to have one next week. We all are thinking the same thing, is that we have a tax increase here to cover the school and to cover the other requirements that we have, including additional costs. I bring up DPW because that's a great example of things that are out of our control, right? Of bringing that trash and recycling to Johnston. That's a lot more money. But I do believe we're all in the same place where we need to find some additional savings. There are savings that are going to happen automatically. If there's no 4th of July parade, then there's additional savings in the police department's detail budget. If there is no getting together in larger groups, there's additional savings with recreation. And it does not make me smile, doesn't make anybody smile, but we need to do this. We need to lessen the burden to the taxpayers, and we're all in the same place. I'm going to leave you with this, is that I believe that we cannot hide from life. I believe that what we're doing is appropriate to keep people safe, but we cannot hide from life. We cannot continue to do this. I know businesses are hurting. I know people are hurting because we are social creatures. There's nothing wrong with that. We need to keep each other safe, but I think we can all treat each other like adults and be treated like adults. I think we know the difference between shaking somebody's hand right now and not. Going to a place where people are very vulnerable to getting sick or staying away from it. I think we know the difference. I think that I, for myself, and I'll speak for all of you, you know when you go to out and about how to take care of yourself and the people around you. And I think I'm being clear to say is that it's time. We cannot stay hidden in our homes. We're not wired that way, and also the ramifications financially and psychologically are huge. It's time. We need to do it safely. We need to do it responsibly, but we need to do it. Thank you.
Mr. Sweeney.
I agree with you 110%, Mr. Chairman. Well said. We have to, hopefully we'll get through this. We are going to get through this together. That's for sure. I want to first congratulate Melanie Barker-Wolf on being appointed as the new deputy clerk's position. So congratulations. And with what you were saying, Mr. Chairman, I also like to just point out right here in Bristol, and I would like to recognize a local business that completely changed their operations to manufacture protective masks for medical professionals. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Kinder Industries. They're a small Bristol company that specialize in like custom canvas sail making, and they make other awnings and things like that. But with 10 people, they took like 60,000 shields, raw materials, and they made these masks. And they're working with another Bristol sailing company to make these protective masks. And I think it's really key because as the governor eases restrictions and allows us to kind of get together with going back to school and maybe going to a concert or being able to go to the town hall and seeing each other in person, we're going to have to probably wear these masks. So I'm just trying to think ahead of ways we can sort of resolve this problem so we could be together again. But I just think it's really neat. And I just wanted to highlight this local Bristol company because they completely changed their operations and they're doing something about the problem. They're creating a solution. Finally, I'd like to say, continue to be safe, be kind to one another, and we're all into this together. And if you want more information, it's Kinder Safety Supplies. They're www.kindersafetysupplies.com, and they're selling the masks to anybody. So regular people, just go in, you can get them there. But be safe. Thank you, and have a good night.
Mr. Texera.
As already been said, we're going through tough times, but we can get through this together for sure. And I'd like to thank, the town administrator as well as everyone else who's played a role in keeping our town going, because I know what it takes. I'm doing that on the other end of the world. But it takes a lot, and certainly it's much appreciated, all the work and decisions that need to be made on a regular basis. The other piece I'd like to mention is, and it's been somewhat forgotten along the lines, not with us, but as a whole, is the census. This is the year for the census. And, this is a great opportunity. I mean, we're going through tough times right now. We're getting federal funding. Well, it plays a big role when the numbers are in our favor. So it certainly is important to remind everyone, if you have not filed your census, I ask that you do that as soon as you can. It's very easy this year. You just have to get on, on the website there, and it's click. It's all of about 5 minutes, and it gets done. And it certainly is helpful for us, not just for Bristol, but also for the entire state as a whole, and to obviously, the benefit that we get, the financial as well as other means of support. So very much appreciated. So thank you. Stay safe. Stay well.
Ms. Perella.
Thank you. Well, I have a couple of things. So first, I'd like to just echo my colleagues in terms of, us easing back into getting life back to somewhat normalcy. I mean, I don't think it's going to return to normal for quite a while, but we have to move forward and embrace what we can and try to be smart and safe about it. I think it's great to see across the state and here in Bristol, all the people that have really come forward to change their businesses, to address the concerns, to try to find PPE, making the shields and masks, and also just the kindness of people. If you look around, on social media, which we probably are all looking at a little bit more these days, the number of people in town that are making, for example, cloth masks And if people say, I really need some, they're like, here, you can have some. I'm making them. There's no charge for them. I think that's really very, very kind and very community oriented and community spirit. And it's just what you'd expect from Bristol. And certainly all of our essential employees who work here, all of the, of course, police, fire, all the people who live in Bristol who are nurses and doctors and, you know, anyway connected to the healthcare community, CNAs at our nursing homes and our supermarket clerks and everybody else who's out there working every day to try to keep life safe and normal for those of us that are maybe fortunate enough to be able to work from home. So having said all of that, I think that we just have to keep moving forward. It's definitely going to be a different summer, and I just want to make one comment about, you know, I agree about the budget issue, but what we don't know and what I'm trying to figure out myself for my own job is, you know, what's going to happen with camps, because the governor does talk about wanting to have kids have some camp opportunities. She does talk about childcare issues, but yet I know, like, for example, schools are not going to be opened for a while. So if some programs are located in schools, so I'm not really quite clear on that aspect of it. So there are three issues that I would, having said that, that I'd like to bring up. One is, as you mentioned, the Milford Street issue and the substandard roads. I don't think they're the only street that has happened to, and I do think we need to look at that, ask the administrator whether we just bring it up on the next budget, on the next issue, on the next council agenda, I'm sorry, which is what I think we have to do, and then start to look at some work around that and see really what are the number of streets out there, what is the situation, so we know where we're going if we want to take that issue on. The second issue that I wanted to bring up, and I actually thought was going to be on this agenda tonight, that a constituent was going to put on, is to revisit the no barrel policy. Only because there are some people who have contacted me, and I'm sure many of you as well, who have said, you know, there's not that many people in my household to have to bring out both barrels. I think people want to make sure their trash is out, especially as we're getting into the warmer weather. You don't want any critters around or whatever. But do we need to bring out the recyclables every single week if there's only a couple of people living or one in the house? So I think we should probably address that, start to think about that. And the third item that I have is the pink bags. I saw again on social media that you know, people were questioning whether that program was still in existence. I called the company yesterday to find out. They had taken a sort of a break from all this because of COVID-19, and they're supposed to be, Bristol is scheduled to start up again on next Monday, May 4th, is what I was told. So I hope that's the case. I am still trying to get, and it's not so helpful right at this moment, given the circumstances, but I'm still trying to get some extra bags that we can have available at places around town once places around town are open. And so I think with that, I just want to wish everyone to stay safe and good health. And I can't wait to be at a regular meeting in person and seeing all of you there.
Mr. Lay.
Oh, Mary, I believe that I haven't seen you guys be self-quarantined from the very get-go on this after the Jamaica thing. So I really can't wait to see you guys. But can you guys see this picture? Do you recognize that picture? Have you ever seen that picture before? Yes. All right. That picture was always hanging up in my grandmother's house, and it was taken in a small mining town in Minnesota in 1918, and it kind of represents resilience during difficult times. It's a picture called Grace. And our country during that time was in the throes of war when it was taken, and it was really meant to capture thankfulness toward people who are making sacrifices in support of those efforts. And there's no question that our present situation really calls on all of us to make these same sacrifices that our ancestors were making. And so I wanted to take a moment to thank everybody, all of you who have been called upon to guide us through difficult times, whether it be the healthcare workers, our commercial food workers at the grocery stores, our fire and law enforcement professionals, and our town administrator and our council chairman who've been providing us with strong and steady leadership during this whole time. But I also want to take this moment to remind everybody that what will ultimately guide us through all of this is our self-discipline in following the guidelines that have been laid out by the governor and the Rhode Island Department of Health. And I tell my wife this all the time, that I think we're getting closer to being able to do the things that we really love to do, like the family events. Easter was really hard on us because we weren't able to spend time with families. I had to tell my wife, look, this is just going to be us this year. There's a lot of people that want to be with their families. We have to be together as a family, and that'll make next Easter even that much more important. You know, we miss having a night out, and we miss the backyard barbecues and everything like that. But I also tell her that we can't get sloppy now. This is not really the time to get sloppy. It's not the time to be complacent about things. And so I think what we're doing is we're doing a good job until we get the guidance from our Rhode Island Department of Health and our governor and our town administrator to do what we need to do to make sure that we get through this. And so I wanted to say thank you for everybody who's been following those guidelines. And I'm confident that when we get through all this, we will be remembered by what's embodied in that picture that I showed you guys. And you can hear my kids screaming in the background, I'm sure. And I'm sick and tired of Frozen being constantly, the movie Frozen being constantly on in the background. But when we get through all this, we're really going to be embodied what I think in that picture. And that's going to be our generation's moment of sacrifice. And it's going to represent that resiliency during challenging times. And so that's all I have for you today. And stay safe and wash those hands and keep the distance and everything like that. Thank you.
Town Administrator, agenda items.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Lay, for sharing that family photo. We certainly have learned a lot nationwide and here locally. We're learning what's important to us and what's important to us in government, what keeps us healthy. And part of that is part of our discussion, and what we heard from Diane Williamson today was the designation of the Revolutionary Highway on Hope Street. It's a little bit hard to be up front and frank. It's a little bit hard to hear that, considering that we've been fighting for decades to get the road and the sidewalks replaced. And it just shows you how government has such fractured policies because it's coming from all different areas. So it is a little bit difficult for me to hear that they want to designate that road that's been neglected for so long. But again, to my point, we're learning what's important. And what I see every day is a lot of people walking. We see our residents getting out of the house, and I encourage people. We're one of the communities that kept our parks open for passive recreation exercise, which is the key to beating this thing. Part of the other discussions tonight, I heard a lot about road paving. Council Member Perella, if we could correct every street, the hundreds of them that are less than 2 lanes of travel, we certainly would. But with 20 roads this year is $2.7 million. It's unsustainable to do that. But to your point, we certainly, when we do pave a road that needs to be done, we will make sure that it is in compliance. But to go out right now and correct every street, it's virtually just we're not able to do it. But I understand what you're saying. You would like an idea of how many are out there. When we rebuild our roads, we rebuild them right. So that's been our goal. We rebuild them. We don't just pave over them. So we will certainly keep your concerns in mind. I share the same concerns. I talk to Director McBride regularly about doing it right. If it needs to be widened, we will widen them. Masks were talked about tonight, and I want to thank Robin Rugg. Again, what's important to us, an employer in the town of Bristol for almost a century, or at least a half a century. Hundreds, probably thousands of our family members have worked there, put out of business by foreign imports, okay? And he'll tell you. And now we're depending on him for masks, and he's volunteering is one stitcher that's left to make masks, and they're coming in daily, and we're dropping them off to our residents. So it's stuff that we've learned an incredible amount of where we've been as a community, what's important to us, what we need to fight to continue to fund, and what and where we should be going. So I know that's a little bit of a dark agenda item for my closing remarks, but you know, today was a difficult day to learn that our celebration won't be as we know it. But there's always silver linings to everything. Next year, I believe we'll be back on track, and again, we'll be stronger, knowing what's important to us, what the things are that we need to invest in to keep our community safe and healthy. So with that, I'd like to thank all of you for your work, being committed to your community. And I did a short message today. I thanked the people that often we neglect to thank, and that's our grocery store workers, our medical care workers that are you know, on the front lines and facing the public hand to hand every day. Eager to open up on May 11th, as I said when we opened up the meeting today. May 11th, we're planning to open Town Hall. Our employees will be safe. I'm confident of that, or else we won't open, but they will be safe. There'll be procedures in place, and it just shows that we are on the right track to recover, and we're going to recover in the right direction. So again, thank you everyone, and have a good night.
I don't know what happened.
Mr. Chairman, do I make a motion to adjourn?
Can I just say one thing?
Oh, it's me. I'm sorry. I was muted there. I apologize. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Could I just make one?
Pardon me. Go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify, just in case anybody misunderstood my comments. I don't think Steve did, but I think I am not implying in any way, shape, or form about the roads to do anything more this year or in the very near future. I just think we need to know for future planning, you know, what we have and where these issues are. I personally have been around this a long time. I was sort of surprised to learn that a road that is platted as a much wider road is only a much narrower road. And I know that we've done a much better job as we've gone forward to do our sidewalks and our road repairs and whatever we do to do it right the first time, so we're not constantly coming back to those things. So I just wanted to make it clear that I was not proposing in any way, shape, or form to do that. I just think we should discuss it so that down the road when we have better times and we can look at future potential projects, we know where we stand. I just think that having the knowledge and the information is important. And then I just wanted to make one comment. I know I'm going to screw this up probably when I say it, but when Aaron was speaking, I couldn't help something that I had read that was something like, stay away from the people today so that when we can all get together, no one will be missing. And that is so important.
Thank you. Tim.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Tony, second.
Tim made the motion to adjourn. Tony seconded it. Tim?
Thank you, everybody.
I just need an aye from you, if you would.
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your participation. I know this is not easy, but we'll make it through. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Mr.
Stay
Chairman.
safe.
Thank you.